Erica and Sharon are sisters who began their grief journey in 2006 when Erica's 10-year-old son Austin drowned. Together, they participated in a grief education program, were so moved by this experience, they studied and became specialists so they could help the brokenhearted find recovery. In 2015, tragedy struck their family once again when Erica's oldest son Donovan was killed in a motorcycle accident. Erica and Sharon are committed to sharing their experiences of love, loss, and healing through this podcast. Now your grief specialists, Sharon and Erica.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show, Healing Starts with the Heart. I'm Sharon Brubaker, and I'd love to introduce my sister, Erica Honore.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so excited that you guys have joined us for another episode of our podcast. This has just been such an amazing experience, and we are getting really good feedback. So I think we're on the right track, Sharon.
I love this. And you know, if our friends are listening today, Erica, we say this all the time. There's a huge probability that their hearts could be broken. It could be from a death, grief just stuck in their heart. It could be from something that happened many years ago that's bringing up emotions today. And what I love is that you and I are able to walk with them and talk them through all the different aspects of grief and their broken heart.
Right, and we just really could have used this ourselves, and I think that's what makes this such an authentic journey, because we made a lot of mistakes when we were grieving. We didn't know what to do. We didn't know if there was a formula, if we were doing it right, and just being able to provide some helpful guidance for our friends out there, I think that's really awesome.
And now that you and I have launched the mini-series, I can't get over how many people are booking mini-series after mini-series just to come in and have a mini session with us and talk through their grief and their loss, and us going through the before and after with them, which is a great asset that we have to give to our friends. So I think it's so cool. So we will definitely be talking through a lot of the mini sessions as we're going along on this podcast. Welcome, friends. We have an amazing show for you today. And Erica, introduce our guest.
I would like to introduce Danielle Jones, otherwise known as my oldest daughter. She is one of my borrowed children, as I like to refer to the girls, because I have Danielle and I have Kayla. Although they were not biologically mine, they are mine in my heart. Danielle and I met when she was 18 years old. She actually was Donovan's girlfriend. And Donovan went into the military and left the two of us alone to fend for ourselves. So Danielle came over every single weekend for about 9 months straight, Danielle, I think. And
I think so, yeah.
We formed a bond and a friendship that just, I mean, it's awesome, because we really are, I got to say, good friends. And there was a place in her heart for another mom and a dad, and Lou and I quickly filled that. And Danielle is our amazing guest today, so everyone please welcome Danielle Jones.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, welcome, Danielle. So I also have to add on to that she's not only part of your family, she's part of this extended family. And everybody, you totally scored.
Everybody, yeah.
Oh, you got all these cousins and nieces and nephews.
Got Granny, got Cecile, we got everybody.
She's traveled the world with you and Uncle Lou. She's taken the family, and it's just such a joy to have you be a part of our family. So
thank you.
Welcome to the podcast. So
I'm here.
We're going to talk through, Erica, a really tough subject today. And not only grief, but we're going to take it to another level. And I love that Danielle has agreed to do this interview with us today. But we often share that we can grieve anyone who is living or deceased. It is not uncommon for us to have grievers come into our sessions, do our program, and realize that they are really grieving a relationship with someone who lives in their life right now, currently.
Right. That is so true. And I mean, that was, of course, our first experience with grief recovery was after losing Austin. But when you and I decided to get certified, I chose to do a relationship of someone who was living. And I think that I didn't realize the effect that it would have, but it really does help. It helps improve the quality of the relationship if you choose that, or it really just helps to put your heart at peace and remove the pain that negative relationship has caused you, and allows you to make a decision on whether or not you want to continue that relationship or not.
That's what's so amazing about this program, is that you can absolutely go after the pain in your heart. So let's go back and start at the beginning. Grief is cumulative. It's cumulatively negative. It will build upon itself. So if you have a grieving experience, whether in your past or in your current life, we know that other losses will attach to that, correct? Now, take that with someone who's living in your life every single day, and the pain from the past and current coming up every single day. You and I both, when we got certified to become grief specialists, did relationships on people in our current life that are still living. It was huge for me. It was huge for me to be able to have that experience for myself, but be able to help my clients with that. We call that relationship a less than loved one. It's someone in our life, usually someone really close, that we just have a struggle with. It's just like oil and water. They just are not getting along, correct? So
Right.
today, Danielle, you're going to share with us a relationship that you're having with that description, right?
Well, I mean, if we want to open that up, it's fine.
Yeah. You don't have to say who it is. Just share your experience of what it's like.
It's my father.
Wow.
Let's see, open it up.
That's out of the bag now.
It's out of the bag.
So, just from the beginning, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, so my parents are divorced. They've been divorced since I was younger. So I'd go to my dad's every other weekend. But as I was getting older, I was starting to understand I wasn't really getting time spent with him. And he'd kind of spend it either going golfing or, watching sports all the time, not really taking me out. And, before I was just like, whatever. But the older I got, I was like, you get 2 months or 2 weekends with me in 1 month. And it's like you couldn't do any of that stuff. And he worked from home. So it was kind of like,
Yeah.
And then once I got to about 14, I had told my mom I didn't want to go anymore because I didn't do anything. I'd rather be home. And so she's like, okay, well, it's whatever you want. And then from there, I think I kind of started this, butting heads because I was getting older. And he kind of made it seem like I was just being a rebelling teenager. And I wasn't. So, yeah, and then the older I got, there were arguments that got really bad. Sometimes altercations, and I had enough. And I just, now, I mean, I don't speak to him now. But it was tough because it was accepting the fact that a family member can do that to you.
Yeah.
So I think there's that level of toxicity that a lot of people do have to acknowledge, that it doesn't just come from outside your family, but it can also come within. And you need to kind of know when to say that's enough.
Yeah.
And I struggled with it because obviously when I was younger, I'd have everybody tell me, well, that's your father, that's your father. Even Erica would tell me, well, it's still your dad, it's still this. But now I'm still saying the same thing, and I'm 26 now. So now everyone's just come to the point, it's like, well, you're an adult now, so you can make that decision. And it's like, yeah, and since I made that decision, I've been healthier mentally.
Right.
So, yeah.
So one of the definitions of grief is reaching out for someone who has always been there, only to discover when they need them one more time, they are no longer there. That would be like Erica and Donovan. Mm-hmm. But there's also another part to that, is reaching out to for someone who's never been there, who's never shown up for me, only to discover when I need him one more time, he's still not there. Would you say that that's kind of what was going on for you?
I think so. I mean, as much as I battled it, I would still try and call him.
Yeah.
I would still try and mend things. And it was just a cycle, so we'd be on great terms for months, and then little by little, like little things here, little things there, and then all of a sudden there's a big explosion. Then we don't speak for a long period of time. Then he's calling me, hey, let's fix this. And I'm like, okay. Or it'd be vice versa. And then for a while it was actually going well because I was working with him. But then other people got involved, like my stepmom and everything like that. So then just from that point forward, when World War III essentially happened, I had enough. And I didn't want to continue that cycle because I was looking, I'm still young, but I'm getting older. I don't want to do that to my children, ever. And even if I were to hopefully not get a divorce or anything like that, I can co-parent. They're going to love to go to their dads. I just don't want my children to be... It's weird to, like, think of that because it's like I wouldn't want to take anything away from my future children, but at the same time, it's, like, weird for me not to have a relationship with my dad, but for my children to have a relationship with their grandfather, and it's just toxic. I haven't figured that. Well, I don't have kids, so I don't have to, but it's weird. Like, you kind of have to look into the future and see what's, like, worth it or not, and just currently in my state of mind, that's not worth it to me, especially growing up 26 years and it's been the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's like, when do you say it's enough before I have a mental breakdown?
Right.
So just trying to get it before that happens.
So at some point, you did grief recovery for the loss of Donovan.
Yeah.
For your friendship with Donovan and all that it did for you. So you knew the grief recovery program.
Yeah.
You knew what recovery felt like. And then after World War III, you called Erica.
I did call, and I still think it took me a while after that. Every time I saw her, she was just like, she's like, you need to grieve your dad. And I'm like, no!
I was just trying to help.
But I did. I relented.
Yeah, eventually she did. I mean, it was a lot of conversation back and forth, and it was, you know, she was resisting completely, as you and I know people tend to do. And then one day, I think she realized the pain was really holding her back, and she decided to commit.
What do you think the resistance was? Because we find a lot of grievers resist actually stepping in and walking through the door.
I think I was just angry, and I didn't want to give him that time of day, nor did I want to give him, even though he wasn't going to physically be hearing my letter or anything like that, but just giving him that time of my emotions and everything, because growing up, that's all I did, and it still wasn't like, he didn't get it. So to even do it one more time was like, why am I going to say all this? You're not going to hear it, you're not going to do this, but I'm thinking of it in a way where it's like, him, but it was about me just like getting that away.
Erica, that happens a lot, don't you think? That we think that we're going to, by doing the work, we're going to be condoning what that person has done. We're saying what they've done to us is okay. We're saying that it's okay what you did to us, and they're getting a pass, right?
Right. And in addition to that, I think that she was genuinely surprised, because they do go into it after they've been resisting, and then you finally get them to do it, that the tears come. Because I think it surprised her. She's like, and she said, I don't even know why I'm crying. Because you can see that anger was still there. But it is an emotional thing, because all that, like you said, all that cumulative negativity is in her heart.
And how long can we walk around with that? You know, that's the other part. Years. Yeah. And it affects every aspect of our life.
Oh,
Danielle, don't you think it was affecting everything you were doing?
I was like, it just made me more anxious than I already naturally am. It just made me feel like there was a very, very negative space all of the time. Because it would amp me up. So anytime we had an argument, I was thinking about it all the time. I was just like, oh, I should have said this, or I should have done this, and it's like a loop. And I overthink already. So that lingered with me, and I don't, it's just like a reminder how I wasn't really born into a situation where like, I guess, a cookie cutter family and all this stuff. And it's like, God, other people don't go through this. Like, why am I having to deal with this? And I'm, you know, that was from like 14 to about like 23. Like, why am I doing this? And it's like, other people are going to go out with their dads and their moms and do this, and that. And like, I'm sitting here like despising mine.
Right.
And it's like that. I didn't think it was fair. I had a whole war in my own head, and it wasn't okay. And finally, when I did it, I let it go. And it's hard to say that's like cutting like your own father off, but it's what I needed to stay healthy, and I wasn't going to corrupt myself for the sake of like what society puts. It's still your family, it's blood, it's this. And to me, like, clearly where we're at right now, blood doesn't matter.